Just before the lockdown, he won the Guinness World Record for leading 1,046 musicians in the world's largest Indian cinematic music band performance. He spent the next few months driving across the length and breadth of Mumbai, delivering groceries to artists struggling to survive the lockdown. I am Biju Thampy and I would love for you to meet my friend Prince today. If you were to cook dinner for A.R. Rahman tonight, what would you be cooking?
I would be cooking him a nice Kabuli pulao.
Is that his favorite?
Yes, he does like it.
If you weren't a musician, what would you be?
I would be a businessman. I always have loved business.
You got that entrepreneurial spirit in you.
Yeah, I don't know if I've got it, but yes, I love it.
You definitely got it.
Okay.
Prince, you launched Artists for Artists to help other artists in need at a time when you yourself had lost a lot of your projects, gigs to the lockdown. So what caused you to trigger love in such a time when you were in dire need yourself?
I was just like the others, doing life in my own home, away from COVID, trying to protect myself. And then I got this distress call. A fellow musician called me and said, my flatmate, who's also a musician, has locked himself in a room and I'm worried about it. I reached the place and then we broke open the door and we saw this guy on the floor. The first thing we did is I carried him on my shoulders, we took him to the hospital. We got to know that he had consumed rat poison. Then I got to know that both these boys were hungry for 11 days. So I went and bought ration, stuff and all those things. And the next thing is, then he said, sir, और एक friend है मेरा, उसको भी राशन चाहिए. और 2 लोग हैं, उनको भी राशन चाहिए. So I called my friends and said, I can't do this alone, I need people. So I have a KM alumni group that is from Rahman's college. So I put my message on the group. So a lot of people responded. And then a lot of planning happened and eventually we bought a lot of kits. We put a helpline number, people started calling us. And 1 call, 2 call, 3 call. We started getting 200 calls a day, 300 calls a day. In the beginning I thought, when we started it, we thought it would be great if we could even cover 500 homes. Till date, we've been able to help about 3,500 artists with grocery.
In 3 weeks' time, you had about 120 artists who were volunteers, who joined your team, and some of them are big names in the industry. And they were out there distributing grocery kits. So how did you enable them? How did you inspire them? How did you motivate them to get out and serve at a time when they were struggling themselves?
If each community comes together as one, then I think we can at least look after this community. So what I did is, I just triggered that love for that community. I just said, guys, our community is suffering and we need people. And people started joining in. They don't know me. In fact, till date, we had more than 240 plus volunteers. We had a call center with 40 people in it.
They were also artists?
All artists. And we had more than 70, 80 delivery volunteers with cars. Some celebrities who also called and said, they actually go around with bodyguards, but they actually came there with, jogger pants, grocery kits and delivering. And
amazing.
Even funds from all across Bombay, the artist community helped us out. Every individual has a heart to help, but they do not know how to help. They do not know where to invest their help in. And what A4A did is, it just gave them a platform, and we got so many calls from artists. We started with 100, 200 calls. In one day, I'll tell you, we got 10,800 calls.
That's
Our
amazing.
call volunteers couldn't even pick up all those calls.
That's per day?
In one day. That's the maximum we touched. 10,800 calls.
And most of them from artists?
All of them from artists.
But you simplified the whole process.
I just didn't complicate it. I said, people are hungry, you have a car, we will provide you food, just go deliver it. Okay, if you don't have a car, you have a voice, please accept calls.
That's
as
amazing.
Simple as that.
That's amazing.
That's just the 2 sides of our delivery system. We need to take calls in, we need to deliver kits, and our volunteer team just kept on growing.
Awesome, man. I love the simplicity of it. I mean, these people were calling. What kind of artists did you serve? Give us an idea about what kind of artists. And also one more question is, is there any beneficiary story that sticks to your heart? that really moves you?
Artist word is such a broad word, Then we started getting calls from theatre actors, from dancers, Lavani dancers, folk dancers, singers, different kinds of singers, musicians, actors, writers, photographers, DJs, even magicians started calling us, clay pot makers. 42 different kinds of artists is what we have catered to.
Man.
And all these people are, literally asking for help because the entertainment industry is shut and all were helplessly looking towards heaven and where can they get help. One of the stories that comes to my mind is a very beautiful thing that happened is one of our volunteers called Bonnie in Navi Mumbai. He was on his way to deliver kit and this girl comes and picks up the kit from him. She goes back home, rushes back home. She takes a small frame. She's an artist. She's a painter. She draws a small art, puts it into an old frame that she had, comes back and gives it to him and says, "This is all I could give you."
That really moves me when I heard that story. That really shows the desire in every person's heart to be able to give.
I think the biggest giving that happened in A4A is that artist.
You can always find something to give if you really have a desire to give.
It's time, money, energy, support, love, your art, your gift, just a hug to somebody. I think that's all.
A smile.
A smile, yes. Yes. That act was so beautiful. That act was very beautiful.
So, I mean, what's the next step? What's the future for artists?
Artists are such people that they don't want to depend on anybody. They want to have their freedom. That's why we are called freelancers. But even though they don't want to depend on anybody, in India, we do not have a backbone system for the artist community. We want to free the artists and give them a space where they can do their art and we look after at least their basic needs. We as A4A want to build up and rise up to a place where we can create health insurance for artists, for their kids, school education for all artist students, artist children. We want to help them with legal support as well and not make them dependent on us, but in fact just give them a greater support in their independence. So when I drive around and go around the city, I see so many artists in need. The first thing comes to my mind is, what is the point of me being an artist? My effort is not going to make a transformation in the city. My songs, my music is definitely helping people and changing lives. But I think it needs to go beyond your music as well. And there are seasons when you need to take a call whether what is more valuable. Right now life is more valuable, and I think it's time that the community comes together as one and makes a massive difference in the country of India.
That's powerful.
Prince and the Artist for Artist story shows us that anyone can trigger love anywhere. You don't need to be a social worker or even run an NGO to change the world. You can just start with one act of love wherever you are. Rescuing that one artist that day led to saving many, many more artists today. That's the magic of trigger love. So whose life is going to be different because you choose to trigger love today? Tell us about it in the comments and stay tuned for more inspiring stories from Trigger Love.